Well, good morning, everybody. This is Dr. Tom Schlueter with today's Tom's Take. I'm going to strongly encourage you again, especially this week, but all the time. You need to listen to, pay attention to, reread, re-listen to Dutch's Give Him 15s, beginning last week and coming into this week, with his teaching on revival and reformation. I want to pick up, though, a little bit on what he was decreeing yesterday morning, when he was speaking about the ecclesia and what the ecclesia represents, the legislative authority, this sent out ones, a non-religious term. Well, I don't want to go too deep there yet. What I want to share with you is I want to go to Matthew 16, and I want to start with verse 13, and I'm going to read in the Passion Translation, because I want to set the context for something here that was very relevant in my own life. Now, I know I've told some of this story to you before, but we have the right to repeat something if we feel like it's essential that we understand maybe where we got off course and how we need to get back on course regarding who we are as kingdom people, as sons and daughters of the Most High God, co-heirs with Christ Jesus, to manifest His kingdom on will on earth as it is in heaven. I mean, that is His prayer. Let me read. When Jesus came to Caesarea Philippi, He asked His disciples this question. Now, before I go any further, I want to share that I have been to that very location several times. It always amazed me when I've been there that Jesus, in asking His disciples to bring forth the revelation of who He truly was, that they weren't in Jerusalem, they weren't in Bethlehem, they weren't in Nazareth, they weren't there along the Sea of Galilee, they were in Caesarea Philippi. One of the most darkest, dreaded, most evil, demonic places in the land at that time, and even so now. You see, there at the headwaters of the Jordan River, it's beautiful. I've many times sat there with Jesus in my meditative moments and asked Him questions about the direction of ministry, the direction of my life. But in that very place, there is a cave and a dark pit. It is literally called the Gate of Hell. It is where the Pan believers, those that believed in the god Pan, well, think about that for a moment. Pandemic, panic, pandemonium, all those things that cause nothing but distress and disease and horror and confusion, where many a baby was sacrificed before their god, their false god, as well as other animals and such. It was dark. It's a pit. Now, I've had other people that have gone there and said, man, we don't even get anywhere near that place. We can see it from afar and we'll take our pictures. That wasn't my response. I went right as close as I could get to that pit and said, you have no authority. By the decree of Jesus Himself, you've given us the keys that can unlock and lock this. Unlock what God wants to do and lock up what this enemy has wanted to do. So I needed to give you a little bit of that background. It wasn't a very good place, but that's where Jesus chose to allow Peter, especially in the coming verses, to reveal who He truly was. When Jesus came to Caesarea Philippi, He asked His disciples this question: what are the people saying about me, the Son of Man? Who do they believe I am? They answered, some are convinced you are John the Baptizer. Others say that you are Elijah reincarnated, or Jeremiah, or one of the other prophets. But who do you say that I am? Jesus asked. Simon Peter spoke up and said, you are the Anointed One, the Son of the living God. Jesus replied, you are favored and privileged, Simeon, son of Jonah, for you didn't discover this on your own, but my Father in heaven has supernaturally revealed it to you. I give you the name Peter, a stone, and this rock will be the bedrock foundation on which I will build my church, my legislative assembly, and the power of death will not be able to overpower it. My. I will give you the keys of heaven's kingdom. I will give you the keys of heaven's kingdom realm to forbid on earth that which is forbidden in heaven, and to release on earth that which is released in heaven. On this rock will be the bedrock foundation on which I will build my church, my legislative assembly, and the power of death will not be able to overpower it. He said, I'm going to build my church. I'm going to build my ecclesia on the foundation of that rock-solid confession that Jesus is the anointed one. He is the King. He is the Lord of all. Well, let me tell you where I got off track. Years ago, when I first arrived here at Prince of Peace Church, actually it was Prince of Peace Lutheran Church at that time. That's a long story. But when I first arrived here 37 plus years ago at what we call now Kingdom Gate, I had it in my head that I was going to build a church. I had taken church growth materials. I've shared this with you before. We did everything possible to try to build the church. We had all the plans, had all the research, had all the documents, the formulas, everything that the church needed to build churches. And by the way, it's been working for centuries. You got to do certain things. You've got to do certain evangelism programs. You've got to build up certain things within your congregation that will be welcoming people into the congregation. Certain programs, certain events, certain things that you know will attract people and bring them in, and you will grow a church. And we needed to grow a church. We were small, very insignificant, hard to find even. But we had been big before I got there. There was many Lutherans that found us there on the corner of Browning and Martin Luther Drive. Not Martin Luther King, Martin Luther Drive. But it wasn't happening anymore. People would come in, but they wouldn't stay. Maybe they didn't like our style of worship. Maybe they didn't like the way I preached. I don't know. We definitely weren't acting Lutheran. But there were many that did stay, and then they would leave. And then there would be more that would come, and then they would be weeded out. And we just never really grew. And I struggled with that because I knew how important it was to build a church. See, that was part of what I shared the other day when Dutch was giving his teaching down there in Willis, Texas at the FMCI meeting. I had to be one of those that knelt on the ground and confessed and apologized to the Lord that I made it all about me, made it all about the local church, made it all about, well, we need to be who we need to be, and we need to be distinct, and we need to be special, and we need to have our special mark, and it's all about us, me, we. Until the Lord said, I didn't call you here to build a church. And he took me to these passages. They had been a part of my life for many years because my last name, Schlueter, means keeper of the keys. So these passages on keys have always been extremely important to me. But I had missed the point. The Lord said, upon this foundation stone, I, not Tom, not the Lutherans, not the Presbyterians, the Catholics, or any other denominational structure, or even non-denominational structure, or charismatic structure, I, the Lord, will build my ecclesia, my legislative assembly. I will build it. I will be the one that plans it, strategizes it, brings it into function. And he did that. What's amazing was he wasn't interested in adding numbers. He wasn't interested in placating me or making me feel good by giving me, maybe 20, 40, 50, 100, 200 other members to work with. He said, you've got to learn a lesson here that I need to teach my ecclesia in this hour. It's not about what you can build. It's about what I'm building. And I am building up a body, a legislative assembly that will have the authority of overcoming death. And will have the authority to transform cities, states, and nations. That's why eventually, at the beginning of this year, he changed our name to Kingdom Gate. And we're still the small congregation. But we have great influence. The politicians, the government leaders, the businesses in Arlington know who we are. The structures in Austin, Texas, our governmental structures, and other places around the nation, they know who we are. And it's not because we built up a church that is recognizable. You see, when we build a church and it gets really big, and you got a famous pastor in charge of it because of this great success that they've had to raise up 5,000, 10,000, or 20,000 pastors or members, well, then political leaders say, well, we want you at our table. We want you to open up with prayer. But yet when they really ask for prayer, they come to a table about 10 tables back from the front of the auditorium and thank us for our faithfulness in praying for them. I'm not saying that to boast. I'm just saying that God taught us a very valuable lesson. It's not about us building a church. It's about Him building His church, His legislative assembly, and then giving us the keys which will unlock or lock that which is necessary to bind or to loose regarding the manifestation of His transforming kingdom power on earth. That is what we're about. That is what we are seeking. We will see the fullness of reformation and transformation in this hour. But only when we get away from us thinking, well, I've got to build a big enough church to influence the world around me. No, you need to allow the Lord to build a church and then to use you, large in number or small in number, to influence the world around you. What a marvelous work He's doing in this hour. In less than 2 weeks, I'm going to journey up to the Northeast again, just north of Washington, D.C., into Maryland. I was just talking with leaders from that area on a Zoom call just earlier before recording this Tom's Take. We will have 7 or 8 states represented at a tribunal for that region, with possibly 100 or more people gathered together to say, we are here through our decrees and declarations and through the keys of authority that you've given us, Lord, to transform a state, states, and a nation, and maybe, yes, even a capital city of our nation. What a privilege He's given us. But let's stay on the right track. He will build His church. We will be His kingdom servants to bring the full force of His life against the powers of death that desire to destroy us. Blessings to all of you today. I'll be with you again tomorrow.